Hey guys, I've been debating about shooting a video like this for a very long time, but I believe and I hope that it would help somebody else that might potentially be going through what I was going through and help them get through it. So, just a little bit of quick context. My name is Paul Macetta, and you probably know me if you've ever watched any of my YouTube videos. You know me because I am a publisher and a researcher in the field of human communication. So, things like influence, persuasion, NLP, overcoming objections, building rapport, all that kind of stuff. This is stuff that I've been studying my entire life and that I research and I publish information on, specifically training courses and videos on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and things like that. And that is one of my primary businesses. And about 3 years ago, coming right out of COVID, my business took a really hard hit. And so the truth is that the business getting hit really, while that was the catalyst for the problems that I began to have, that was more of a symptom of the real problems that were going on. And so I found myself in a place where my business suddenly just stopped generating revenue because I wasn't able to make my paid advertising work the way it once did. And because my paid advertising wasn't working the way it once was, it wasn't feeding my business. And because my business wasn't getting fed, I wasn't able to reinvest back in the business to continue to grow it. And it just turns into this downward spiral. Now, again, those are symptoms of the real problem. Like there's bigger issues at hand there. Like issues like, is that really the best way to be running a business? Issues like, why don't you have more cash saved? Issues like, are there better decisions you could have made prior to that happening to prevent that from happening? And these are all realizations that I had. Where I'm coming from now is I'm just telling you like where my life was. So I was in this situation where I was running out of money. I had little to no money saved, and I had no money to keep reinvesting in my business, and I felt like not only was like my life falling apart financially, but there's so much more that when you have a family, a wife and kids, and the thought that you're not able to protect and provide for them, it subtracts from your identity, because as a family man, part of your identity is to protect and provide. And when you can't do that, or you feel like you can't do that, that's a part of your identity that is now vulnerable and at risk of like dying. And like if you lose your identity, like losing your identity is a very serious thing. If you lose your identity in life, you can really go down a lot of dark paths. And when I was 16 years old, my father had 2 nervous breakdowns because his business fell apart. And so the constant worrying about if the money was going to come back, if the business was going to be rebuilt, like that combined with a lot of childhood stuff that he had really sent him into a state of complete depression and then hysteria, to the point where he had to be hospitalized on multiple occasions. And it took years of therapy and medication to get him to a point where he could just function in life. And so I remember like talking to him about that. He's passed on now, but I remember talking to him years later about that. And he said, well, I hope you're never in this situation, but if you're ever in a situation where you can't provide, or you feel like you can't provide for your family, you tell me how that makes you feel. And yet, this is exactly where I was. This is the exact situation that I found myself in. And so there are lots of different things that I did to get myself out of that situation, and it's way more than I can talk about in this video. If you get value from this, I will certainly expand upon it and I'll share it in other videos. But what I want to talk about is like what just got me through the day, because I was in a state where I was waking up every morning in a state of anxiety, a state of fear, a state of depression, and a state of dread, like where there was like no hope. Because look, I'm a firm believer in taking 100% responsibility for your circumstances. Like I hate people that play victims, I hate people that blame other people, and I hate people that rely on other people. But when you have that mentality, sometimes it works against you because you're putting everything on yourself. And so, it's one thing to take ownership and responsibility. It's another thing to then start self-defeating and beating yourself up because you're in this situation. And so, like, the very first thing that I did before I could even like really start to change my thinking was I had to change my physiology. And I had to start exercising consistently. So, again, I would wake up and I would be in this state of, okay, no money came in yesterday, no money came in the day before, I'm running out of money, most likely no money's going to come in today. Like, what am I going to do? Should I start looking at, like, becoming an Uber driver? Like, what should I do? And I said, okay, well, I know that I have the knowledge and the wisdom and the mindset somewhere in here to get out of this, but right now it's too hard for me to think. And so, and there are too many things that are out of my control right now. But what is in my control? What can I focus on right now that is in my control? And the very first immediate thing that I realized I could control was my body and my habits. And so I bought myself a kettlebell, and my wife had this little yoga mat. And every day I would wake up at 7 o'clock, walk the dog, take my daughter to school, and then I would come back to the house. And from 8:20 until 9 a.m., that would be my 40-minute kettlebell workout. And there were days where I did not want to do this. There were days where I just wanted to crawl back in bed under the covers and hide. There were days I was operating on 2-3 hours of sleep, so I just wanted nothing more than to go back to sleep. But I said, once I finish this exercise, I will probably feel better than I do right now, and that's a step in the right direction. Because even if I feel a little bit better after I do this workout, that's something. It's still, even if I feel 1% better than I do right now, 1% is an improvement. And so every day, like clockwork, from 8:20 till 9 a.m., I grabbed that kettlebell. When I first started, I really didn't even know what I was doing. I still, probably in the eyes of like an expert kettlebell person, there's room for improvement. But I watched YouTube videos. I taught myself. I got a little bit better at it. Each day I got a little bit better. Each day it got a little bit easier to do it. And every time I completed that workout, I felt a sense of stress relief. And when the stress is gone, that's when you're able to start thinking more clearly. Because when you're stressed out, you're in this emotional state, you're in this state of fear, you're in this state of survival. And so your brain is going to, like, what can I do right now to alleviate this, to protect myself? And sometimes, like, while that's good, sometimes, like, you need to just, like, shut that off and start thinking long term. And so it started with the workouts. It started with breaking the sweat. It started with getting my heart rate up. The same has been true for jiu-jitsu for me. I've been training jiu-jitsu close to 12 years now, and on the days that I was not doing that, I was always making sure I was training jiu-jitsu. Anybody that trains jiu-jitsu will tell you that if you show up to a jiu-jitsu class with shit on your mind, by the time you're done, that stuff is either going to not be on your mind anymore, or it's not going to be impacting you nearly to the degree that it was before you got into the class. Because the combination of problem solving, having to be present, and the workout, like the intensity that you're going to put your body through, is going to help you relieve that stress. So the same was true of jiu-jitsu. So those were the two things that really like helped me dig my way out of this hole. Now again, there were lots of other things that I did after that. And again, I can shoot multiple videos and go deeper on this. If this is something that you guys get value from and you want to hear more about, I'll certainly open it up and talk more about what I did after that. But I'm talking about if you are in a place right now where you just feel like there's no hope, there's dread, there's anxiety, there's fear, there's feeling like you can't survive, like you can't breathe, like you don't know what to do next, I'm telling you what to do next. You gotta find 30 to 40 minutes, maybe even an hour every day to do something physical that raises your heart rate and causes you to sweat. Now, aside from relieving the stress and starting to give me the clarity that I needed to think straight and start making better decisions, this also positively impacted me in other ways. First of all, I lost weight. So I started to feel better about myself physically. I started fitting into clothes that I hadn't been able to wear in a long time. And when I put those clothes on, I felt better about myself. It kind of like had a positive impact on my identity. I started feeling more confident about my ability to change things. So it was actually a twofold thing. My confidence came from two things. Number one was my ability to make a commitment and stick to it. So if you make a commitment and you stick to it, that's going to reinforce confidence in you. In fact, I would argue that a lot of times lack of confidence comes from you knowing the truth about your inability to keep commitments. See, if you make commitments and you don't follow through on them, you're the only one that knows that. Like, you're the only one that knows that dirty secret about yourself. And every once in a while, you're going to have to face that. So there's going to be a time where you need to be confident about something, and the fact that you haven't been able to follow through on your commitments is going to rear its ugly head and make you feel unconfident about it. And so it's my belief that your ability to set and keep commitments reinforces your confidence. So that was the first payoff. I started to feel more confident because I'm like, you know what? Man, things are so screwed up for me right now. I'm in a hole. I'm in a jam. I don't know what I'm going to do. I made so many mistakes in the past of thinking things were going to last forever, not managing my money correctly, not having the right outlook, the right mindset, abusing alcohol and abusing my body in the process of doing that. But here I am. I'm making this small commitment every day and I'm sticking with it. I'm following through on it. That was giving me confidence. I was also changing my physical appearance. So what I was proving to myself was that I have the ability to make a transformation in my life because I'm doing it right now, every single day. This is happening to me. I'm doing it. So not only do you get the benefits of relieving stress and being able to think a little bit clearly, but you start to reinforce your confidence because you realize that you do have control over certain things in your life, more things than you probably know and think that you have control over. And the more you demonstrate that you can take control over certain aspects of your life, the greater your confidence becomes in your ability to control other aspects of your life that maybe you previously thought were beyond your control. And so the only thing I could say is, like, look, again, I'm not a fitness guru. I'm not somebody up here that's, I can only tell you what worked for me. And for me, that kettlebell became my best friend at one point, because sometimes, again, I would start those workouts and I would be in such a bad place, and then by the time I was done with them, yeah, my bank account was still nearly empty, my business was still in shambles, my brain was still a complete wreck, and my life was still somewhat upside down, but not as bad as it was before I touched that kettlebell and got that 40-minute workout in. And so the only advice that I could pass on to you is, like, if you are in that state, you got to start doing something physical every day, even if it's walking. That was another thing that I mixed in. In fact, now I'm to the point where I do something physical every single day, even if it is just a 40-minute walk. If I can't get my kettlebells in, or on days that I don't get my kettlebells in, or days that I don't train jiu-jitsu, like today's a Saturday, I got to walk in today, right? But Monday I did kettlebells, Tuesday I did jiu-jitsu, Wednesday I did kettlebells, Thursday I did jiu-jitsu, Friday I did kettlebells, today's Saturday, so I went for a walk. I'm doing something physical every single day. And it is by far what I feel is the most important thing you could be doing if you are in this state of mind right now, to help you pull yourself out of it. So again, guys, I hope this helps you, and I would love to hear your comments, your feedback. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you tried this? Have you found that it works for you? And do you enjoy this type of content? Because it is a little bit different than the content that I normally put out. But like I said in another video, my channel is all about communication. And communication does not only mean the communication that you have with others, it's the communication that you have internally with yourself is just as important. And so I want to start making more videos about that internal dialogue that we all have with each other, and ways and things that I've done that have helped me improve mine so that I can improve my life. Do I have everything figured out at this point? No, absolutely not. Is my life in a way better, drastically different place? And are things way more optimistic and looking up for me than they were when I was in that bad place just 2 years ago? Absolutely, they are. And I'm happy and willing to share the things that I did that worked for me. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, physical exercise was the number one thing. And it's the thing that everybody can do right now. Again, guys, hope you got value out of this video. If you did, leave a comment, give me a like. And if you enjoy this type of content and you want more of it, let me know. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification.